I'm not quite sure how, but wearing a mask has become some kind of political issue. I'm seeing stories of Trump supporters saying that they won't wear a mask, that people who wear masks are silly, don't just believe the government, don't believe whatever you hear. I see posts from people saying things like that wearing the mask negatively impacts their oxygen concentration. Then I'm seeing people on the left say that's ridiculous. No, it doesn't affect your oxygen concentration. Just wear the mask. And look, I got no problem wearing a mask. I have no idea how this happened or why people care. I can say that I recently did go out and I had on a mask. And when doing a laborious activity, we were lifting stuff, we were shopping. Yeah, it was not comfortable wearing a mask. But I don't know, it didn't impact me that bad, so I don't really care. I have a mask. Now, there's a couple weird things, however, like New Jersey just mandated that everybody has to wear a mask outside in public spaces. I don't necessarily know what that means. Like, if I walk out my front door onto the sidewalk, is that a public space? I mean, it is, right? My understanding is that if I'm in my backyard, I don't got to wear a mask. But if I go onto the front, like the front street, now I have to wear a mask like everywhere. That to me is kind of odd. In my car, is that public? Is that private? Honestly, I have no idea. But listen, if you don't want to wear a mask, just be mindful of closed spaces, right? When we're talking about the spread of COVID, to be honest, I really think nobody cares. I'm just going to put it this way. Look, I don't know. I don't care. I defer to local health experts and my doctor. Fauci has been back and forth on this. Things seem to make no sense. But let me tell you something. Here's the big news first. I don't want to bury this. Colorado town threatens residents with 1 year in jail if they defy mandatory face mask order. What? First they fine you, then they give you a bigger fine, and then you face a huge fine and potential jail time of up to 1 year. To me, that just seems excessive and ridiculous. How do we get to a point where they can issue an executive order that will put you in jail for up to a year? I thought we couldn't do that as a country. I mean, that's crazy. Well, here comes creeping authoritarianism. Let me tell you something. At the same time as we're seeing this, we're seeing the inverse. Nearly 80 Texas counties have opted out of Governor Greg Abbott's mask order. Others refuse to enforce it. Here on YouTube, they have some rules about encouraging people to do things and if you get health advice wrong. So let me just preface all of this by saying I defer to the experts. Don't ask me what you should or shouldn't do. Why, I would just ask my doctor. And you should do the same. If your local health experts have given you advice, I would suggest following it. What does that mean? Well, that means if you are in Texas, apparently you don't wear a mask. And if you're in this Colorado town, apparently you do. So there's no guidelines. I have no idea. Let me tell you something. Around me, everything's basically reopened. I mean, like to varying degrees. Obviously, it's not just regular reopened where you walk in, walk out. Some stores, some retail stores seem to be totally reopened. Now, people are wearing masks for sure, especially with the New Jersey, mandate or whatever. And there are many restaurants that are doing outdoor seating. But it would seem like even though we're hearing in the news that COVID is spiking and it's coming back in its second wave, nobody by me cares. You want to know what's strange? You take a hop and a skip over that state line further south. And my friends are telling me weird stories about the mandates. So listen, I'm talking to a friend who's telling me that in their state, everybody's sick. Like the hospitalizations are spiking. People are like really worried. They're going to get tested. Everybody's wearing masks. And I'm like, well, hold on a minute, man. This is confusing to me. How come when you drive 20 minutes, you have all of this fear and like they're calling the health department saying like, I saw somebody not wearing a mask. What do I do? Then you go 20 minutes the other direction and it's like, everything seems to be fine here. You want to go to the store? Go to the store. Just make sure you wear a mask. The restaurants are open and available. I'm like, how does that panic just emerge between state lines? And I think this is actually what you see. Listen, I got to be honest, man. And if YouTube holds this against me, well, so be it. No one has any idea what is going on. That's about it. Let's read the first story and see what happens if you don't wear a mask in Colorado. And then we'll read the other story where apparently, I guess, if you want to wear a mask, you can, but no one cares if you don't. Listen, let me just say this before we start. If we don't have unified policies on what we should or shouldn't be doing as it pertains to COVID, then we shouldn't, then it's almost pointless to have these policies at all. Now, again, I say defer to your health experts, the advice given to you by the authorities. Don't ask me for what, look, you might go to jail if you're in Colorado and you defy it, but I'm just like, in my state, we border, I'm very close to border in a couple other states, and the rules are all different. So you can literally drive a minute over a bridge and then all of a sudden everything's different. That makes no sense. If COVID can spread, well, we got problems because these jurisdictions can't enforce people just hopping over the river. All right, let's see what's going on in Colorado. You're going to go to jail, I guess. Don't wear a mask, you go to jail. A Colorado town is threatening residents with up to a year behind bars and large fines if they disobey face mask requirements implemented in response to the coronavirus. The mayor of Englewood, Colorado, with the blessing of the city council, imposed an emergency order that went into effect Thursday, mandating that every person over the age of 6 wear a mask outside his or her homes, according to the New York Post. First offenders will face $15 fines, and second offenders will have to pay $25 fines, which is seemingly nothing. But the maximum penalty listed is $2,650 and 360 days behind bars, or both. Oh, okay, so I'm sorry. I guess that wasn't 3 strikes. I guess that's for either offense. Any person charged with an offense under this emergency order may choose to enter a plea of not guilty and be entitled to a trial as authorized by the law. Just over 35,000 coronavirus cases have been confirmed in Colorado, resulting in 1,704 deaths. Cities and states across the country have started imposing mandatory face mask restrictions in response to upticks in coronavirus cases, and some are also calling on the federal government to impose a nationwide mask mandate. That's so weird to me. It's weird. I got no problem wearing a mask. I really don't care. We got a bunch of masks. They're like these little, they cost like $1. I'm not even kidding, it's $1, and it's a piece of cloth. And it just stops your breath from spraying out. So let me just clarify something too for all you guys. I see a lot of memes on Facebook, and people seem to think that the mask is supposed to protect you. No, all it's doing is that when you talk, you're spitting and spraying stuff, and it catches in the mask. That's all it does. And so the goal is that you don't spit in people's face when you're talking to them. You actually spit in people's face a lot when you're talking to them, apparently. You do. And that's the point of the mask. That's it. Some people don't want to wear it. Far be it from me to tell you, to advise you on any of these health requirements or whatever. I am not an expert. I defer to the local experts. So insofar as it pertains to New Jersey, I will have to wear my mask whenever I go outside for any reason or whatever. Sure, fine. I don't know. Whatever. I really don't care. I'm not sure how this thing became political, really. So what? There are masks you can get that are like, so I have this Washington Redskins mask that I bought. And I bought this and some other Washington Redskins stuff because they were talking about, changing the name or whatever. And I just thought you wouldn't be able to buy it at a certain point. So I was like, I'll get a mask. I'll get a face mask. It'll be funny. But it's actually a really stretchy and thin material. It's ridiculously easy to breathe through. And the other mask that I have is, like I mentioned, that dollar cloth thing. And you put it on, and I barely even notice that I'm wearing it. Some people, I guess, have these really big and thick, crazy-looking masks. I'm like, maybe that you don't need that. Like, you could probably, you could pull your shirt up or something. When I went to I think I went to Home Depot or something. They told me that under New Jersey's, emergency decree, you got to wear a mask. And so I took a T-shirt and tied it to my face. And that was it. And I don't know. It's fine by me. I don't care. I don't know why people care so much. I got to be honest. So here's what they say. Supporters of face masks, including guidance from the CDC and prevention, maintain that wearing face coverings is instrumental in stopping the spread of the virus, while critics wary of government restrictions during the pandemic cite reputable studies that cloth masks aren't effective. Here's a quote they say. Wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection, a group of Harvard public health experts wrote in a paper from the New England Journal of Medicine in early April. Public health authorities define a significant exposure to COVID-19 as face-to-face contact within 6 feet with a patient with symptomatic COVID-19 that is sustained for at least a few minutes, and some say more than 10 minutes or even 30 minutes. The chance of catching COVID-19 from a passing interaction in public space is therefore minimal. In many cases, the desire for widespread masking is a reflexive reaction to anxiety over the pandemic. However, Dr. Anthony Fauci, a member of President Trump's coronavirus task force, urged people this week to wear face masks. If you say it doesn't matter whether you put it on or take it off, you're giving a wrong mixed signal, he said. The message should be wear a mask, period. And I will also point out, look, to be fair, we barely know what's going on with COVID. We really, really don't. Most people don't. And so, to point out this study from April, I think is a little irresponsible because there has been a back and forth on messaging as it pertains to masks. Early on, they said, don't wear it. It's ineffective. There's a tweet from the Surgeon General where he's like, don't get masks. They don't do anything. And so I even talked about this back then, why when they said don't buy masks. And because the point I was saying is that masks don't protect you from taking the virus in. They stop you from spitting on other people. The reason medical professionals need it is because when they're treating patients, they don't want to be spreading any potential infections or whatever they have. Well, now, at the weirdest time, I don't get why they're mandating face masks. And the bigger issue I have, I suppose, is that a lot of what they've done may have backfired. During the peak of the coronavirus pandemic, which we're well outside of, now they're saying cases are on the rise, but deaths are not following this trend. So we're seeing a big wave of asymptomatic cases, which would imply more testing is involved. We are seeing more hospitalizations. We are seeing more deaths, but there's a bunch of, we just don't know the answers. And we have to be careful if we're going to make reflexive, panicked decisions based on this. It's hard to know what to do. That's why I just say, look, I defer to the experts. Now herein lies the big problem. For those of you living in New Jersey, like me, or in Colorado, make sure you wear your mask. The expert said so. And if you live in Texas, apparently the counties say you don't have to. So, hey, I defer to them. Nearly 80 Texas counties have opted out of the mask order, and others are refusing to enforce it. From the Texas Tribune, they say, when Governor Greg Abbott issued a statewide executive order requiring Texans to wear masks in public, he gave counties the opportunity to opt out if they have a low number of active coronavirus cases. That sounds great. Greg Abbott sounds like a good governor. If, one of the issues that we need to bring up, there were many places that were under these big restrictions, like in Michigan, for instance, that had no cases whatsoever. And they were being told they couldn't have their businesses operate. And this is the problem with one size fits all national policy. And it's one of the reasons I am no fan of the National Popular Vote Coalition. And I like the Electoral College. We cannot have one law for literally everything because people are not experiencing the same things. Imagine if they were like, we hereby mandate that you can only consume, a certain amount of strawberries. And there's like a certain place that has like 50 billion strawberries and a certain place that has none. You'd be like, why is the place that has 50 billion strawberries restricted to only having one strawberry per day? The other place that has none, okay, I kind of get it because they don't have I'm just giving you a simple analogy. The point is, why are we going to tell a rural area with very little interstate travel or commerce, why are we going to tell them to shut down all of their businesses when they have no cases whatsoever? Perhaps that makes little sense. Well, it seems like Greg Abbott recognized that and said, if you've got, little or none, don't worry about the mask thing. A week later, 78 counties have taken him up on the offer, and a handful of other local governments have insisted they won't enforce the order even though they don't qualify for the opt-out provision. Officials cited a desire to preserve personal freedoms or concerns about enforcement. I think it's an insult to Texans to be required to do something they should have discretion for, said Hugh Reed, the top administrator for rural Armstrong County near Amarillo, which opted out. In a press release announcing the order, Abbott said that wearing a face covering in public is proven to be one of the most effective ways we have to slow the spread of COVID-19. Public health experts broadly agree that masks slow the spread of the virus, and the CDC recommend face coverings for anyone 2 or older in public settings. Okay, all right, I get it. I want to now point out why I think we have to be very careful if we are going to start just implementing things like that. We need hard data. And because we haven't had hard data, for the entirety of COVID, the United States has been a chicken running around with its head cut off. We have said, no masks, yes masks, no masks. No, indoor is bad, no, outdoor is bad. Oh, no, asymptomatic transmission. No, asymptomatic transmission. Okay, listen. You clearly don't know what you're talking about. I can respect local health experts and look, if they say wear a mask, I got no problem. I'm going to wear a mask. I really don't get why it's a big deal. But let me show you something. Cuomo blames Rikers Island release, anti-NYPD sentiment for NYC crime spike. Well, there it is. The governor of New York admits that they released prisoners from Rikers Island and it resulted in them committing crimes and they had to be sent right back. The reason I bring this up is it would seem like many people said, listen, if you release criminals over a fear of COVID, they'll just reoffend and likely have to go back. And all you will do is increase the amount of crimes and the likelihood they get COVID. How stupid is this? Think about it. They say about 13% of those released have been rearrested and sent back. So you took a population that was isolated from the outside world for the most part, in which COVID might not make it inside, or maybe. You released them out into the world where they're now exposed to COVID, arrested them because of, they commit crimes, and then put them back. Would you be at all surprised to find out if there was a major spike at Rikers now? I don't know exactly what's going on with Rikers, if they are, but how silly is this? As it turns out, we realized Governor Cuomo even publicly stated, I think now 2 months ago, we know staying inside increases the likelihood that you will get COVID. Why? They know this. So why would they release people from Rikers, but then tell everyone to stay indoors, which is what they did? That just seems to increase the likelihood that people will catch COVID. So it's fair to say, at least in my opinion, we have gone back and forth too many times and the confidence of the people is shattered. And that's the real issue here. So when I was talking to my friend who's in a state not too far from where I'm at, telling me that half the people are wearing masks, half aren't. There's no real guidelines. There's no enforcement. No one has any idea what's going on. Everybody's opinion about what's happening is mixed, confused, or backwards. And no one agrees on any one thing. I'm like, then you might as well have no policies at all. I'm not saying they literally shouldn't. I'm saying if Texas has counties that won't enforce it, then why bother at all with the mask mandate? Because that means people will spread it, right? If they're telling certain counties it doesn't matter because they have low COVID numbers, then why bother having it at all? It doesn't make sense. If I can go to a county with no enforcement and go back and forth between a county with enforcement, it won't, sure, you can say it will reduce the spread, but you're still going to be spreading it all over the place, right? I'm sorry, man. I can only put it this way. I didn't care to make, COVID videos at this point, especially with around me, everything's returning to normal as far as I can tell. I haven't seen, like when I go out in the front, my neighbors, I don't see anybody wearing masks. Now I haven't gone to the store in recent, in the past couple of weeks, but I would probably see people wearing masks. Although, to be honest, the last time I went to the store, there were some people not wearing masks, even though they were supposed to be wearing masks. So I'm not sure what's going on or why. New Jersey just did this mandate, but I can tell you, look, everything's been reopening. And right now in New York, we literally have Mayor Bill de Blasio saying that we're shutting down large gatherings. He literally does not have the authority to do that under the First Amendment. They cannot infringe the right to peaceably assemble. The Constitution doesn't say why. You just can't do it. He was then asked, by Wolf Blitzer, what about Black Lives Matter protests? And he says, well, that's different. And there we go. Bill de Blasio, New York. If you are going to say it is okay to go out in large gatherings for reason X, but not reason Y, then you might as well have no restrictions at all. None of this makes sense. Again, with that being said, I'm going to wear a mask, okay? I'm not saying, not to. I'm saying I don't understand the point really because, like I mentioned, nothing seems to make sense. But I'm going to do it because I don't care. And like I mentioned, I got this mask. It's actually really easy to breathe with, so whatever. All I know is we have been on a confusing roller coaster ride for months. The economy is being destroyed, and you have not seen the worst of it. This country is in worse shape than people realize. 32% of homeowners, I believe, missed their payments. Delinquencies are skyrocketing, which is resulting in mortgage-backed securities failing at record high numbers. And you know where this goes? Do you remember what happened back in 07, 08? I think we're heading towards a crash that you would not believe. Now, gold is skyrocketing for whatever reason. I guess people are buying it up. And we're seeing something interesting. And take it for what it is. Do this research. Dig into this. We are seeing gold sales on the rise, precious metals. Since the start of COVID and then in the riots, I went out and I bought some metals. And you may have noticed in some of the articles I've been showing, there's like advertisements for precious metals. But I've noticed so much of it is sold out. Gold is spiking. I guess it's it's not like the biggest gains ever, but it's going up fast. And people are buying property in huge numbers in Montana. And home sales are skyrocketing at a time when people can't pay their mortgages, which is very weird. Because here's what I see happening. You can't pay your mortgage. Mass delinquencies. Market collapse. Rich people, however, are currently buying up houses at $400K or lower in places like Idaho, Iowa, and Montana. Montana being the biggest, I believe. If the housing market has all these delinquencies and then the market collapses and the prices drop dramatically because of a massive influx of supply and because people can't buy houses anymore, then these $400,000 houses being bought are going to drop dramatically in value. I don't know, man. I'll tell you this. When I see all the rich people fleeing cities and buying big properties out in the middle of nowhere, I have to wonder if they know something. Or at the very least, I'll put it this way. People who have been smart enough to succeed in life because they plan ahead are now making moves to buy precious metals and buy property in the middle of nowhere. And if these are the people who are more likely to plan ahead, not everybody, then I would believe that we're seeing a trend in people who might know something. So I'd say get out of the cities. That's the best I can do. Anyway, hopefully you don't go to jail for not wearing a mask if you're in Texas. I have no idea, man. But hey, who knows what happens next? They're saying COVID causes diabetes. It causes brain damage, permanent lung damage. Okay, I have no idea, man. Whatever. I'm going to wear a mask. I don't got a problem with it. And I'll wrap it up there. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see y'all at 1 p.m. on this channel.